This is the second video for Cambridge IGCSE Biology 0610. We had started topic 1, characteristics and classification of living organisms, and this is the part 2 of that topic 1. In this part 2, we will be discussing 1.2, that is concept and uses of classification systems. Point number 1, state that organisms can be classified into groups by the features that they share. For example, there are two different diagrams that are present here. In the very first diagram, the organisms that are present there are having some similar characteristics. All these organisms are sharing common features such as they are having an external ear present and they have hair present on the skin. So these organisms are classified into a group. That group is known as the mammals. Similarly, in the second diagram, you can see there are also some organisms that are having similar characteristics. All of these organisms are having a beak and feathers on their skin. So these organisms are also classified into groups known as the birds. So point number 1 is organisms that are sharing similar features, that are having similar characteristics, are classified into a group. And if we talk about point number 5, that is explain that classification systems aim to reflect evolutionary relationships. This means that organisms that are present in a group, for example, the group mammals, organisms that are present in mammals are having external ear and having hair present on the skin. So organisms in a group are having similar characteristics, which means that they are believed to have evolved from a common ancestor. For mammals, that will be the mammalian ancestor. Similarly, for the birds, reptiles and all other groups having organisms which are having similar characteristics present in them. Point number 2 is about the definition of the species, and point number 3 is about the binomial system of naming the species. First of all, let us talk about point number 3. Binomial system of naming species. The word binomial consists of two words, bi, which means two, nomial means name. So this system of naming species consists of two names, and those two names are the genus and the species. If we talk about the description of binomial system of naming species, it is an internationally agreed naming system in which scientific name of an organism is made up of two parts, the genus and the species. Genus will always be the first part, species will always be the second part. Genus always start with a capital letter, species always start with a small letter. For example, there is a scientific name, there is a binomial name, that name is known as the Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is used to represent the organisms, human beings. Human beings will be represented by the scientific name Homo sapiens, whatever the part of world you are living in. So that is why it is an internationally agreed naming system. It is also known as universal system of naming the species, and this is the advantage of this binomial naming system. Let us understand genus and species. Genus is a group of species that are related to one another, which means that in one group of genus, there are different species, and those different species are sharing similar characteristics, are having common features. For example, here you can see there are 4 different species present there, and all of these 4 different species are having similar characteristics present among them. So these species are classified into a group. That group is known as the genus. Similarly, the organisms, the species that are sharing similar features, having common features, they are given one genus. They are present in the same genus. So on the basis of this, we can say different species have same genus, just like here you have seen that. Similarly, there are a lot of other examples in which different species are given the same genus name because they are having similar features, because they are having similar characteristics present in them. If we talk about the species, the group of organisms reproduce to produce a fertile offspring. First of all, understand how fertile offspring can be produced out there. There are two kinds of offspring. One of them is the fertile offspring, other is the infertile offspring. If reproduction is taking place between two same species, then offspring would be the fertile offspring, which means that offspring can reproduce further, and that offspring would be known as a species. But if the reproduction is taking place between two different species, then the offspring that would be produced there will be known as infertile offspring, and infertile offspring cannot reproduce further. And when it cannot reproduce further, it won't be a species, because in the definition of species you have seen that that species must be reproducing. Infertile offspring cannot reproduce, so that won't be a species. You can see here there are different diagrams. In the very first diagram, you can see there are two different species that are present there. And when two different species reproduce with each other, they are producing an infertile offspring, which won't be a species. And fertile offspring will be produced by two same species. And the offspring that will be there will be fertile, which means that it can reproduce further, and that would also be a species. Now coming back toward the species. Group of organism reproduce to produce a fertile offspring. Members of a species have same genus. For example, in this slide, you can see there are different species present there. And if we talk about only one species, such as the lion, members of all lion species would have the same genus. Similarly, for all other species, members of a species would have the same genus. And here you can see different scientific names, different binomial names of different species. The first name would always be the genus name, second name would always be the species name. So this is the difference between the genus and the species. Now let us do some questions that are there related to the points that we have discussed until now, 1, 2, 3 and 5. If you are only going through the topic and understanding the topic only and not performing question, then it won't have any benefit for you, because you just have understand the topic. You haven't got the idea that how that topic would come in your MCQs question, in your theory question. So along with understanding the topic, you must be doing topical past paper questions from the. In that way, you would having a clear understanding of that topic, as well as how that topic would appear in the form of MCQs question as well as in the theory questions. In this question, we are given with a binomial name with a scientific name. Question is which row shows the two parts of name using the binomial naming system. And binomial naming system we have studied, it consists of two parts, and those two parts include a genus and a species. Genus would always be the first one and species would always be the second one. So you can tally this particular thing with the scientific name that you are given in the statement. Kingdom is not the part of binomial naming system. It would only be the genus and species, so D is the correct one there. What does the term species mean? When you will be performing past paper question, you can find a lot of MCQs regarding the description of species with different statement. So in this question, part B is the right option there, a group of organisms that can reproduce to produce fertile offspring. You can also pause the video there and try to solve the questions by yourself, and then resume the video again and check out either you have got the right answer or not. Again, in this question, we are given with the scientific name and we have to find out what is the genus of this species. And genus would always be the first name, species would always be the second name. So for genus, that is the B, the correct one there. In B, option B, we are given with the genus of this particular species. The next question is which species can breed with scientific name is given to produce fertile offspring. We have studied that fertile offspring can be produced by the reproduction between two same species. So in this case, we are given with the scientific name, not the common name of that organism. Fertile offspring produced by reproduction between two same species. So in this case, we have to look for species name of the binomial name we are given with. So in the question, this is the genus name and this is the species name. So species name is vulgaris. In the options, we have to take a look at the scientific name we are provided with, and we have to find out which organism in the options have vulgaris species name. So that is given here. The second organism have the same species name just like the organism present in the statement. So both of these organisms will be reproducing to produce fertile offspring, but not with the first organism in the option. So the right option would be the C1. If organism that is given in the statement reproduces with the first organism of the option, then there will be the formation of infertile offspring, because both are having different species name, and species name represents a single species and individual species. So for fertile offspring, both organisms must be having the same species name, then they will be producing a fertile offspring. Two different species are given there. They have reproduced with each other and produce an offspring that is known as the zedong. They are saying it is not a fertile. So when it is not a fertile, it won't be a species as well, because it would not be able to reproduce further, and when it won't be able to reproduce further, it won't be a species. So these are some samples, these are some MCQs by which you can get the idea how question can come in the form of MCQs from 1.2, 0.1, 2, 3 and 5. Similarly, if we talk about the theory questions that are there, so here we are given with a figure that is 2.1 and some blanks are there, we have to complete those blanks. So first of all, the binomial system is used to give every species a scientific name. Scientific name of this particular organism is given here. The first name would always be the genus name and the second name would always be the species name. So writing all these names correct in the blanks will give you 3 marks. Part B of the same question says, describe what is meant by the term species. Again and again you will be facing this type of question in which you will be asked to describe, to define what is meant by the term species. So we have studied that species is a group of organisms that reproduce to produce a fertile offspring. For theory question, you should be very careful about the marks you are given in the theory question. Such as this question is given for 2 marks. So it means you are required to write two correct points. For the definition of species, there are 2 points. First point is group of organisms that are reproducing, and second point is these are producing a fertile offspring. By writing both of these points, you will be getting maximum marks that are there. So this is one of the question that will be there in the form of the theory question. This question will give you an idea that how question can come from these particular points we have studied here.